The first reason that prevents Thai people from understanding you might be because one of the most discouraging things that could happen to you when learning a language is when you started learning a language and then you go out and then you try to use the language with the local people and none of the people understand you. I've witnessed such situation before in my life. So I've seen in this restaurant a Western man. He wanted to order pad kapao mu, which is fried basil with pork, and he went on asking the waiter, "ผมต้องการผัดกะเพราหมู." And his Thai was perfect, and I could understand him from 10 meters away, but the waiters just could not understand him. And at the end, the waiter needed him to point to the menu, which I found a little bit patronizing. So that got me thinking a little bit about how this local guy, Thai guy, doesn't understand the Thai spoken by this man. I came to this list of the reasons why it's like that. And within the list itself, I also give you some tips and tricks into improving your understanding with the Thai people, even if you're just starting out. The first reason that prevents Thai people from understanding you might be because they're just not ready for it. So basically, I'm blaming the local Thai person right now. This happened, I think, in the case of this restaurant. The Thai staff didn't expect that the Western man would be speaking in Thai. So he has his mental block and he's not ready to perceive the Thai coming from the guy. Thailand being homogeneous as it is, it means that most of the population is Asian, Southeast Asian even. So when people that look very different from this ideal of what Thai is being like is speaking Thai, sometimes it confuses people. This happens to me too as a Thai person. Many times I like to dress with shorts and I like to wear tennis shoes when I go around. And then people would speak English to me because they think this outfit couldn't be worn by a Thai person. It's not the Thai uniform, so to say. The tips and tricks around this to help this Western man to communicate better with the Thai person is to warm up the waiters with some more Thai before actually going to order the food. So the things that you can say are such as สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีค่ะ น้องครับ น้องค่ะ น้องครับ น้องค่ะ is the way that you address someone younger, usually people in the service industries. พี่ครับ พี่ค่ะ to someone who is older. So when you say these sort of gesturing sentences, you give the appetizer to the people that, the main course, the main Thai things you want to say is coming. The next reason why the Thai people might not understand you is because you translate from your head, you translate from your native languages. And in this case, the man asked the waiter, I would like ผัดกะเพราหมู and I would like or ผมต้องการ it's not the way that Thai people actually order food. We don't say I would like, we say requesting dot dot dot. So in this case, it would be ขอผัดกะเพราหมูครับขอผัดกะเพราหมูค่ะ so we just use this one word ขอ so the reason why you can't translate from your language into Thai is because the syntax between languages are just too vast. I think if you're from a country like Vietnam, then there's a good chance that if you directly translate from what is in your head to the Thai sentence, that things could work out quite okay most of the time. But I suppose that when you speak most of the languages, the syntax would have been quite different from Thai, so I wouldn't recommend thinking from your language first. I would recommend you trying to form a sentence by thinking like a Thai person from the get-go, which is quite difficult. But I think the more that you discard the idea of what a sentence should have been in your own language, the more that you would get the Thai right. An example is when you say that I go to school by bus in English. In Thai, you would say ผมนั่งรถเมล์ไปโรงเรียน I sit on a bus to school. So you can see that the syntax are totally different. Another example is when you are hungry. In English, you would say, oh, I'm hungry. I am hungry. Subject, verb to be, adjective. In Thai, you would say things like หิวแล้ว hungry already. We discard subject and verb totally. And you would notice that sometimes Thai people would say things like, no, have money, which is the way that Thai people say this sentence in Thai, but it reveals itself in English as well. So when you observe the Thai English, then you would probably get to the gist of what the Thai syntax is like. You forget to change your register. What do I mean by that? Well, I believe that each language has its own register. Some languages are spoken with deeper tone of voice. Some languages are spoken with higher pitch. I think Thai is such a language spoken in general with higher pitch. English, on the other hand, I think spoken with lower register. So with deeper voice, English is spoken from this part like throat and the inner part of the mouth and a bit chest, whereas Thai is spoken from the mouth, the lips, and the nose areas is a bit nasal. So for example, if I want to greet you in Thai, I would say, สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีไหม? And then if you have an English person who arrives in Thailand for the first time, who is not able to change their register yet, they might have said something like, สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีไหม? Or if it's an Australian person, it could have been, สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีไหม? This sort of thing. So just observe a little bit more and remind yourself that you need to change your register when you speak Thai to create better understanding with the locals. I am trying to do the same thing when I speak English as well, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. I have to remind myself, make sure you use different part of your voice production. Having said that, I think English is spoken all over the world, so people are so used to the language being spoken in different ways and accents and voice register. Thai, on the other hand, is spoken mainly between Thai people, and so people are not quite used to the Thai being spoken in different registers. There is also this study that humans in general tend to warm up to people that sound like them because that reminds them of home. So these are the people that have the same accents, have the same pattern of speech, have the same stressing style. And I think that you would be probably integrated a little bit better when you speak in the way that make Thai people feel like, oh, you are folk. Next point is when your pronunciation is way off. I think when the pronunciation is way wrong, it could cause confusion. And especially when you speak to a Thai person who is not acquainted with English, who hasn't been meeting with a lot of people from outside of Thailand. For example, if you are to tell my parents that you're going to this city near Chiang Mai called Pai, but if you happen to say, I'm going to Pai, my parents would have been confused about why would you go to have some pastry instead of going to a place because they can't associate pie with pie. Another example, let's say if a Thai fan is asking you whether you would consider doing bungee jumping and you said, no, I don't want to die. And I don't want to die in Thai is ไม่อยากตาย but you happen to say ไม่อยากตาย so ตาย and Thai. And ไม่อยากตาย happens to mean I don't want to make a guess. So instead of saying I don't want to die, now you're saying I don't want to guess. But I know that the difference between the and the and ba and pa are quite difficult. Therefore, I've made this video. And this video, I came up with a really good trick. I'm quite proud of it. And if you watch this video, you will learn how to speak these two sounds quite fast as well. The next reason why you can't make yourself understood is because you haven't listened enough to Thai. I think people sometimes overlook the fact that listening is one of the building skill of learning a language. Babies would listen to languages for years, well, a few years, 1 year and a half, until they start speaking the language. So they would collect the sound, they would collect the pattern and the rhythm of the language before they start speaking. I think that sometimes when people start learning Thai, they are too eager to talk to people, understandably so. I think when you go about talking too fast Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but that also comes with the fact that the things that come out of your mouth might not just be in line with what the language really sound like. I personally believe in a system where you learn by listening quite a lot. You don't probably need to listen just solely, but I think you have to focus on listening probably 70% of the time because it's the building skill of all the other skills in learning languages. The interesting thing about listening is that you could make out how Thai actually sound like comparing to how it is written. For example, people teach you that the Thai greetings is สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีค่ะ and the Thai thank you is ขอบคุณครับ ขอบคุณค่ะ but in reality, when people use these terms informally, colloquially, you would hear that people will say things like and สวัสดีครับ and สวัสดีค่ะ sounds almost like a place in Oman in the Middle East. Or when you say thank you, ขอบคุณครับ ขอบคุณค่ะ when you do it in real life, you would hear ขอบคุณครับ ขอบคุณค่ะ the Thai K is actually quite soft, and it's not the same as the English K if you observe and listen to it properly. This is the point where it's getting fun. Just keep listening, keep hearing little different sound, and if you would like, you can even create your own pronunciation system that's just for yourself so that you can imitate the way the Thai sound better. Because I think relying on the phonetics given to you by schools, you get the sense of how the language is used formally. But if you want to integrate better, sometimes you have to sound a little bit casual, like local. So I would highly recommend listening more. The last reason why the Thai people don't understand you is probably because you just haven't practiced speaking enough. And I think I can totally understand this because I think most of the viewers of my videos are 40s and above, according to the stats. And I think that it's much easier to make friends when you are younger because you are in the school setting, you have a lot of energy, and so you meet the locals naturally. But I think there's a lot of good things about not being that young and making the local friends as well. I'm gonna think about this and I'm gonna produce another video or a PDF file on how to make friends as a more mature person and maybe introverted too. I'm gonna share this in the future, so please stay tuned on this channel. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope that you learned something from this. I hope you are having a great week or weekend.